All right, everybody, so we're going to go through identifying slope and y-intercept from a table, a graph, or an equation. Let's go ahead and think about that. A table looks like this. There's an x and a y, and they've got numbers down here that go together. A graph, of course, you know what a graph looks like. And, you know, your line might look like that. And then an equation. So let me go ahead and write that out. Y equals mx plus b. So the m represents your slope. When you are asked for a slope, it is either positive or negative. And it definitely does not have the x included. It's just the number. Then we've got our y-intercept, and that is where the line crosses our y-axis. So let's do a few examples and see what we can come up with. Okay, first one, it says identify the slope and the y-intercept. The slope, we use an m. Y-intercept, we use a b. Actually, the y-intercept is the easiest one, so I'm going to highlight my y-axis. Do you see how it crosses there at that positive 2? So I'm actually going to write positive 2 is my y-intercept. Then to figure out your slope, I'm going to count between the 2 points given. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 up, 1, 2, 3 over, and my slope is rise over run. 3 over 3 equals 1, and if you notice, that is a positive slope because it is going up to the top corner. So that's how you do that first problem. Now let's look at the second one. It says identify the slope and y-intercept for each. Okay, so for the first one, m is my slope, and that would be what is with the 3, or excuse me, with the x. So my slope is a positive 3. And my b is a y-intercept, which is right back here, positive 1. Okay, so now let's do the next one. My slope is whatever's with my x. It's an invisible 1, but it is there. And my b is my y-intercept. It's what's at the end of the equation plus 4. I'm going to write on this other side just to keep it from being all scrunched together. My slope here is a negative 1, and there is nothing after that negative x, so that means my y-intercept is 0. That line goes straight through the origin with a negative slope. So now I'm going to go down to the last one, and my slope is what's in front of the x, negative 1/3, and my y-intercept is 2. Alrighty, so let me go ahead and go to the next one. All right, this one says, what is true about the equation for the graph shown? Well, if you look down here, you're going to see that they want to know what the slope is. So let's start by just figuring out if it's a positive, a negative, or a 0. That slope is heading down, so that means it's a negative slope. So it's definitely not a 0, and it's definitely not a positive 2. So now we're going to find 2 points where our line goes exactly through the corner. So there's one right there at the origin, and there is another one right there. So we're going to count. We're going to go down 2 and over 1. So my slope is rise over run and is definitely negative. Okay, so that means my answer has got to be A. When you're counting slope, you just look at the line and pick points that go right through the corners. Okay, so there's a corner and there's a corner, and again, I can count it again, down 2 over 1. So it is a negative 2 over 1 slope. All right, let's see what we have on the next slide. Okay, it says identify the slope and y-intercept of the linear function given the table. Miss Benson, how can I get a graph on here?
Look in the bottom.
In the bottom?
Corner.
Come to the bottom corner.
Isn't there one down there?
I don't see it. Maybe you could come tell me if there's one. Hold on, guys. Miss Benson's trying to get me a there it is. Okay.
Yeah, but you gotta be on pen.
All right. Oh, I gotta be on pen.
You gotta be on.
I gotta be on this little thingy. Okay, here it comes. Woo! Yay, I got it. Okay, and now I'm going back and getting my highlighter back so I can plot some points. All right, x is -2, so I'm gonna go 1, 2, and y is -4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is point there. -2, -4. Now I'm going to go -1, -3, which gives me a point right there. My next one is 0, -2, which goes right there. And my x is 1, and my y is -1. So I've got a good looking line going right here. Okay, so if I go ahead and draw it, and I'm going to say I'm going to find my slope, and I'm going to find my y-intercept. My y-intercept's the easiest, because wherever my x is 0, that's my y-intercept. -2 goes right through there. Then I'm going to count my slope. And if you notice, if I go between points, I'm going up 1, over 1. So 1 over 1 is 1, and it is definitely positive. Okay? Use your graph. Always use your graph paper. It's super important. You can have as much as you need. Alrighty, we've got a last one here. It says, which table of values represents a line with a slope of -1 and a y-intercept of 4? Well, let me go ahead and grab my graph again because that'll be easiest. All right, so if I know I want a y-intercept, well, first of all, if you don't know what to do, you're going to use your graph paper and you're going to graph every single one of these. That way you know which one it is. But I'm going to give you a hint. If you want a y-intercept of 4, that means you need this point. You need a 0, 4. Because 0 is the x, 4 is the y. So let's go through and highlight the two graphs that have a 0, 4 y-intercept. Okay? So we're going to plot 0, 4. Okay, so that means that these two, there's no way they can be my answer because they don't have a y-intercept of 0, 4. So now let's look at B. Let's plot -4, 8. Right there. Okay? And let's plot 4, 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 0. That definitely has a negative slope, but let's count it and see what it is. Okay, let me go ahead and get a pen for a second. So I'm going to count that slope. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then over 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's definitely negative, and it's 4 over 4, which gives me a slope of -1. So I know that B is my answer. I don't want to confuse y'all by graphing on the same graph, but I'm going to go ahead and get another highlighter, and I'm going to get a different color highlight. So like, let's do puke green. We'll do that. All right. So I'm going to plot -4, 0. 1, 2, 3, -4, 0 is right there. I'm going to plot the 0, 4, which is here, and then I'm going to plot 4, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That would be a positive slope. So there's no way that can be your answer. So that's why B is your answer. Like I said, just take your time, graph every single one if you need to, and you're going to find that answer. Just be patient and be careful. All right, next thing we're going to do is independent and dependent variables.